All right, today we're tackling something huge. We're talking about relationships. You know, how we love, who we love, what we even expect out of it. It's all been completely turned on its head in just a couple of generations. So, yeah, let's just dive right in. I mean, seriously, does it ever feel like the rulebook for relationships just got tossed out the window? Think about it for a second. The advice our grandparents got, it sounds like it's from a totally different planet, doesn't it? If you've ever felt kind of lost trying to figure out modern love, you are so not alone. Well, here's the thing. It was thrown out. And the story of how that happened, wow. It's actually one of the biggest, most dramatic social shifts in all of human history. So let's trace it. We've got to start at the beginning. Okay, first up, the old rules of love. Let's call this the age of duty. And you got to understand, this was the bedrock of society for centuries. See, for most of history, marriage, it wasn't really about finding your soulmate or being happy. Nope. It was a practical deal. It was about economics, about bringing two families together, and just doing what society and the church expected of you. Simple as that. And the priorities back then? Super clear. It was all about the we, not the me. Your duty to the family came way before your own personal feelings or desires. And divorce? Oh, that was a huge social no-no, so commitment wasn't really a choice. It was just expected. The gender roles were locked in, and the main goal was just to create a stable home to raise kids. Sacrificing your own needs for the family, that was seen as a good thing, a virtue. And then, everything changed. Starting around the middle of the 20th century, it was like a series of earthquakes just completely shattered that old foundation. And that brought us into a whole new era, the age of the self. This wasn't just one thing, you know. It was like a domino effect. First, you have the rise of feminism, which totally challenged those old-school gender roles. Then the sexual revolution comes along and basically separates sex from marriage for the first time on a mass scale. And as people started asking, wait, what about my happiness? Divorce rates just exploded, hitting their peak in the 80s. And just when you think things can't change anymore, boom, the internet arrives and completely rewires everything about how we meet people. And that, right there, was the big one. The fundamental idea of what a relationship is for, it just flipped completely. The goal wasn't just about the family unit surviving anymore. Now, it was about the individual's personal growth and happiness inside that relationship. So, that brings us to today. Let's look at the relationship landscape we're all navigating right now. And let me tell you, it is an era of just unprecedented diversity. You know that classic image of the nuclear family? Mom, dad, two kids, white picket fence? Well, that's just one option on the menu now. Today, something like a quarter of all kids in the US live with a single parent. You've got blended families, families with two moms or two dads, all kinds of different setups. There really isn't one normal anymore. And you can see this change in just the small, everyday stuff. Like, think about the family dinner. For the boomer generation, that was pretty much a daily thing. But for millennials and Gen Z, whoa, that number gets cut by more than half. So our whole idea of what family togetherness even looks like, it's just completely different. And what about loyalty? That's been totally transformed too. It used to be this big cultural rule, right? But now it's much more about how you feel in the moment. And sometimes it can feel, well, optional. We went from expecting lifelong vows to a world where we have situationships. And of course, technology has brought in this whole new risk of, digital cheating. Okay, I've got a number for you. 66%. What do you think that represents? Let's say in the context of divorce today. Any guesses? It's the percentage of divorces that are initiated by women. 2/3. That is a staggering number, and it connects right back to that shift we were talking about, the age of the self. Once women had more economic freedom and social power, they got the ability to walk away from relationships that just weren't making them happy. And look, the numbers everywhere else tell the same story. It's just undeniable. Way more young couples are living together before or instead of getting married. Interracial marriages, up by more than 6 times. Women are having kids later in life, and we're way, way less likely to marry someone who shares our religion. The whole game has changed. Okay, so that was then, and this is now. But what's next? Where is all this heading? Well, welcome to what we might call the age of choice. An age where we have more options than ever, but also way more pressure. So experts are kind of looking at three big things that are going to shape our future. First, this trend of hyper-individualism, focusing on your own goals, that's not going anywhere. Second, money. Just the insane cost of raising a family is making it a much bigger financial decision. And third, technology, especially AI. That's a real wild card that could change things in ways we can't even predict. Okay, get ready for this, because this prediction is pretty wild. Some experts think that by 2036, that's not far away, the whole idea of a traditional marriage and family could become, well, countercultural, like a niche thing that only the wealthy do, or people really focused on leaving a legacy. I mean, think about that. It's a pretty intense idea. And this kind of leaves us at a crossroads with two very different paths for the future. Path one could be a revival of community, people intentionally moving closer to family and friends to build real support systems. But path two, that's more about fractured isolation, more loneliness, more people feeling disconnected, and maybe even new arrangements, like couples who have kids together but live in separate homes. But look, this new world comes with some serious challenges. We're going to have to deal with low-trust environments where making a real commitment feels like a huge risk. We're going to have to figure out what happens when AI can offer a relationship that feels perfect, but without any of the hard work or sacrifice. And there's the real worry that these patterns of instability could just get passed down from one generation to the next. So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? It's this. The rule book is gone. It just doesn't exist anymore. What we have instead is choice, an almost infinite menu of options. And while that freedom is amazing, it also means the pressure is entirely on us, on each of us, to figure it all out, to build our own meaning, our own stability, our own love. And so, that really just leaves one final big question for you to think about. In this world without a rulebook, without a map, with all this freedom and all this responsibility, what are you going to choose to build?